Okay, guys, so editing hardware. So, what kind of editing hardware do you need for your wedding films, cinematic wedding films, right? So, the better, your editing hardware, which is your computer, the better, the faster, you will get a video done. So, if you're shooting like 4K files, 8K files, 1080p, whatever, um, you won't be able to edit that footage smoothly if your editing hardware is not up to standards. So all that plays, the computer plays a huge role on how you handle your editing. So the hardware plays a huge role. It's not just the software. Well, the software doesn't really play a huge role. It's the hardware that, makes the software run smooth. So the hardware, which is this thing here, the laptop or your desktop or whatever, is the hardware that you use to edit um, wedding films, right? I mean, you might go as advanced as, using stuff like DaVinci Resolve, like, analog stuff, like not actually software. You actually might use hardware for editing, but that's more into the advanced stuff. That's more into like when you're making movies and stuff like that. You can use it for weddings, but that's just an overkill, unless you're getting paid like $20,000 a wedding, then you can go do invest in that kind of equipment, because that equipment is not cheap. That's like equipment that they use in actual, Netflix type movies, Anyways, so when it comes to editing hardware, we're talking about the computer here, okay? We're talking about the computer. So what do you need to look for in a computer that you will be using to edit? So that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys about here. So we're going to be talking about the editing hardware. So what do you need to look for in a computer for you to to use it for editing weddings, cinematic weddings? So what we need basically is a computer that's going to be fast enough for us to edit, because you don't want lag. It's just, it slows you down and it's frustrating to a computer that's always lagging and it's slow. That's why I don't use Windows. I'm sorry. But of course, you can update Windows computers, and I've never used them in like maybe 10 years or something. So maybe they've improved now, or maybe I gotta get a more expensive Windows computer, but I've not had good luck with Windows, so I'll stick to the Mac. Anyway, so there are four main things you need to look for when looking for an editing software. So number one is you need to look at the CPU. So what is a CPU? So a CPU is basically just the core processing unit in a computer. It's like the brains of the computer. So the CPU, you need to make sure, the CPU is good. Okay, guys, the next thing you need to look at is the GPU. So the GPU is basically like the graphics card of the computer, and the graphics card, like, it enables like people that play, like, let's say that play games on their computer, online games and stuff like that. They need a lot of GPU. They need a computer with good GPU. So that's like a graphics card. So even us, like, when we're editing weddings, we're dealing with pictures and motion, like we're dealing with all that editing power. We're dealing with all those graphics, So we need a good GPU. So you gotta make sure your GPU is good. So when you scroll down, I have an explanation of each of these things: the CPU, the GPU, the RAM, the HDD, SSD. I have explanations of what all these things do and what to look for specifically when you're trying to buy a computer to edit. Okay, guys? So the GPU, that's what it does, the graphics processing thing. And then the RAM is a random access memory. So the more RAM you have, the better. So everything is down on is down. You can go check that out. The HDD, which is the hard disk drive, which is like your hard drive. Basically, you need a lot of memory on the hard drive. You need a lot of space, basically, for your computer to be functioning, to be running well, right? So then the SSD, which is the solid state drive. So the SSD is just like it's basically the HDD, but it's more advanced, and it has like less moving parts than the basic HDD that we have. So like if you drop it or stuff like that, you're still gonna, you won't need to worry about it as much as if you drop an HDD, external whatever device, so stuff like that. So the solid states are like, the new technology. So but another the only thing that's with these things is they're too expensive. They're not too expensive, but they're expensive. So you might get a SSD which has 1 terabyte, and it's probably gonna cost you like $1,000. This is just like estimation. And then HDD 1 terabyte might cost you like $200. So you see the price differences. It's a lot. So if you want to be doing like if you want to be editing from your SSD, then it's good to use. If you want to be editing from an external hard drive, SSD will work faster and stuff like that. And if you want to go on the road with it, but honestly, I'll leave it up to you to look into what you really need. But I don't own a SSD at this point, or the external hard drives that I have HDDs. So there you go. So I have all this information down here. So make sure when you're looking to buy a computer to edit, make sure the CPU has 5 cores minimum. Anything over this means faster processing times. Make sure the GPU is fast, which is the graphics cards thing. Make sure it's fast because the faster it is, the faster your video rendering processing time will be. Make sure your RAM is at least 16 gigabytes minimum. Anything over 32 gigabytes is good, and so on and so forth. Make sure your HDD is over 1 terabyte and has enough space. New Macs and Windows systems are now being equipped with SSDs, which is really good. Okay, guys, so it means fast processing speeds, and yeah. So I have some recommendations down here. You guys can check those out, and just do your due diligence before getting editing hardware. So that's with this, guys. So let's move on to topic number